And this beauty over here, this is Therese. And Therese, you are the Director of Business Development for Palladian Health, which is a division of DaVita. Welcome, Therese. Good to have you here. So, Therese, we're going to start with you and talk about your early years and what influenced you in the sense of how you saw this world.
Well, I think a lot of people don't know that I actually am the first wave of boat people from Vietnam. So our families left Vietnam in 1975, and before that, I didn't know there was another world that existed. All I knew was our family in Vietnam and our life there. And what we were used to was just the soldiers, coming by, just such a war-torn country. And I remember the only words we knew were, "You number one." And when I would say that to, and would yell that to the army trucks that would pass through our village, they would throw us candies. No, Mommy didn't raise no dummy. That's probably why I have such bad teeth right now. But anyway, it's just the ability for us to be living in that life. And then when we heard that Vietnam was going to be taken over by the North Vietnamese, our family left our home in the middle of the night in April 1975. And it was pitch black outside, but when we walked outside, there was just an exodus of people leaving the village. A lot of the roads were closed, and a lot of fightings were still happening because the Viet Cong had already infiltrated South Vietnam, and so they were, closing roads and stuff like that. So it was terrifying. So when we got down to the harbor city, we would sleep on the fishing boat at night, so if something happened, we could just go and just leave. And then in the daytime, we had to, just be on land and such. And one day the siren sounded, and my dad gathered all 5 of us girls. He had 5 girls, and my mom, and we actually got on the boat and left the harbor, and we didn't know what was going to happen. There was a lot of fighting. Soldiers were shooting out at the boats because they wanted to leave too. So it was just really a terrifying experience, pandemonium that particular day in the harbor. And we got out to the ocean. And we heard that there were on Island, and then they flew us over to California, and that's when we had to be, sponsored to be legally in this country. And so our family settled in Peoria, Illinois.
So, Therese, again, tell me how old you were when this happened.
I was almost 10.
10, okay, and you are one of 5 sisters.
Yes, and then when we came here, my dad finally got his wish. My parents got a boy, so.
Gotta throw that in there. So, one of 5, where are you in the birth order at the age of 10?
I'm the oldest.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's think about this. You're the oldest. How old is the youngest?
Right.
At that time when
she was 22 months.
Oh my gosh. So mom and dad, 5 children, and you are escaping. And I'm going to guess, was this your first plane ride ever?
Yes. It's the first time on the boat too.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, we all were sick. Deathly sick.
I bet. Deathly sick, afraid, cold, and looking after each other for dear life.
Right. But we were very fortunate because at that time the world was perished, or they went through a lot of hardships. Just a lot of things that happened. It reminds me of what's happening in Syria right now, and it's just, it's so it touches me in a way that I just can't. Nobody understands it until you go through it.
Yeah, I can imagine as you're fighting back the tears right now, that as you watch that on the news, to see people throwing their children over fences like that. You understand what that feels like in a way that many of us will never understand.
Yes.
And did you leave family behind?
Yes, we have. I mean, the only people that came along with us in our family was my uncle and his family, and he had 10 kids. So, so that's the only family I have in this country.
Oh my goodness. So flash forward, now we're on the plane and we have to be sponsored. You're in California, you have to be sponsored to be a citizen of the United States, and you're 10 years old, and what happens next?
Well, I didn't really know. I mean, I just, we lived in these tents in the Army camps at Camp Pendleton, and but what I found out that we actually had to be close to my uncle's family, and with a large family like that, there aren't a lot of sponsors that could fully support them and help them to, start a new life. And so a Baptist church in Peoria, Illinois, sponsored that family, and my dad said we have to be near him. And so we waited, and then Christ Lutheran Church sponsored our family. And so literally we lived 10 minutes away from my uncle. So it was really, really wonderful. And again, when we first got to Peoria, it was really cold, because by the time we got to Peoria, it was November. And first time I've ever had to, wear clothing that that would keep us warm and see snow and all that stuff. So, I mean, you can't imagine the first time I saw the grocery store. Because in Vietnam, it's all about fresh food, and you go to the market every day. But the grocery store had an abundance of food, you just couldn't believe it.
And so you get there, and then how do you, first off, I'm not assuming you are as eloquent as you are in front of me now. Did you, you knew a few words.
You're number one.
You were number one.
With my determination and drive, I actually got a lot of scholarships out of that, and need too. So I was very thankful for the opportunities that, were provided to me. So I always tell kids today, it doesn't matter if your family doesn't have money, you can get an education.
Absolutely. So tell us where you received your education. What did you major in?
I was at a private school, Illinois Wesleyan in Bloomington, and I started out wanting to be a doctor. So I majored in biology, and Asian families, it's either engineer, doctor, or lawyer. So anyway, after going to school for a couple years, I just felt like I could not be a doctor, and so I continue in healthcare, and I went and got my master's degree at Governor State University in Chicago in healthcare administration. But the one event that really kind of also solidified the fact that I didn't want to go to medical school was because my father, he passed away when I was senior year. First night of my senior year in college, he passed away. So it was a big event that I felt like I needed to help my mom to raise the 6 kids. So, and you know what? She was the only one that worked in our family and raised 6 kids. All 6 of us graduated from college. All are very, very successful. So.
And what did your mother do outside the home if that wasn't enough to raise 6 kids?
She actually worked at the hospital, making minimum wage for a long, long time, and just really, I think she taught us the value of the dollar and also accepting help. So we actually had a little bit of help, when we were growing up. I can remember going to a little wood shop on Friday night as a whole family. We would go there and clean up the wood shop, of all this dust, sawdust and stuff, and just help out wherever we can. And then today, actually, I'm married to a man whose family owns a sawmill, but he's not making me clean up the dust, which is really, really good.
So good of him to do that, isn't it, though? Yes. So speaking of that husband, let's talk about, let's flash forward a bit here. So you graduated from college, and then when did you meet your husband?
So after graduate school, I was a real leader in my graduate school, and there was a healthcare magazine that actually did an article on me and a few other leaders from Northwestern, from University of Chicago and stuff. And a healthcare administrator in California noticed that, and he actually called up and said, hey, we're interviewing for a fellowship, 6 people to do this fellowship. It would be really great if you apply. And so I applied, never thinking that I would get it, because I was interviewing with people who, you know, are graduating from USC, UCLA, all these Ivy League major schools, and I'm coming from Governor State University, you know, nobody's ever heard of it. But I interviewed in front of 6 CEOs at that point, and I actually ended up being one of them. And so I moved out to California because that's where it was, in Los Angeles, and I met my husband in a bar one night. Sorry, Mom.
Your mom won't be watching this, will she?
I'm thinking she might be out in the audience.
Is your mom here?
I don't know.
Mom, are you here? Let's see, raise your hand. She probably won't. She's so embarrassed now. Okay, so you met your husband in a bar. You were leaving the bar after you had saved a family and dropped them off on the curb.
Yes. Good one.
Yeah. So you met your husband in a bar, and then I'm going to let you tell us what happened after that.
Well, you know, I was very focused on my career and building it, and so I worked in California for 4 years as a hospital administrator, and then his family is from here, and that's how I ended up here. So, so they own, you know, the sawmill in Sumner, Washington, and I fought tooth and nail not to move to Puyallup, but we've been married now for 22 years.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Wow, and you have how many children?
I have 2 boys.
And tell us where they are right now.
So Nick is 18, and he just started at the University of Washington in Seattle, and then Bo is a junior at Puyallup High School, and I'm here today, and he has a homecoming in a little bit. So.
You know, to say that you have risen above your beginnings is just redundant, and it's ridiculous to even say that. And when I think about Vietnamese culture and American culture, and then you here on the couch in front of me, you have successfully combined the 2 of them in your life today. So in these last few minutes, tell us what that means to you.
You know, I will forever be grateful for the opportunities that were provided to our family when we came to this country. I mean, I talk to students today about the freedoms that we have, and they just don't even understand it. You know, freedom of education, freedom of living the life that you are meant to live. And so in terms of melding the 2 lives together, my heart has always been about, you know what, you will provide all this opportunity, all the blessings in your early years, and so as I grow older, I'm actually wanting to give back. So my heart is always about in service, and the 2 melding together is always because of my heart, and it's the, you know, leading the life that you have with your heart. It will always be the right way to live. So, you know, and I try to instill that into my children as well, that no matter what it is that they do, you know, do what you love. It will never be like a job. I volunteer a lot in my community, and I think a lot of people see that, you know, I lead with I always say this, and I mean it every time, is that I lead with my head, my heart, and my hands. It's the ability for me to be able to give back. That's what I'm all about, because of the opportunities I had in my early life. So whatever blessings I have, I try to instill that in others.
Oh my gosh, you are incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, this show is beautiful and